Hey folks, it's Coach Patrick here, Endurance Nation. Excited to be here on Facebook with you once again. This week, I'm talking to you about something different. Every week, we're here inside Facebook doing live presentations on some of the knowledge and information that we've grown and shared inside our community. Education is a huge part of how we operate inside the team. We believe that smart athletes are fast athletes, and they also have more fun. And so our job here inside this channel with these brief 15-minute opportunities for you to connect with me live on Facebook are just sharing some of our knowledge and information out that we have just to kind of make you be a better athlete and get everything together. So one of the biggest challenges that endurance athletes have is that they're managing a long training cycle, right? So we're starting 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months. We're also managing complex amounts of gear, right? So we've got gear for training, we've got gear for racing, we've got gear for adventure, perhaps like different versions of our sport, whatever it may be. And then finally, we've got the financial side of it. Like we've got travel and investment in that equipment and investment of time. So when you think about all the different competing factors, one of the biggest underlying problems that endurance athletes have is continually making the best possible decision. And I say this is a problem because as human beings, we naturally gravitate to the easiest place we can go. So let's just say, for example, I'm an ultra runner. I'm training for an ultra run. I love to run. And I finally found a pair of shoes that I love. I buy these shoes, I run in them, and I love them. And so I'm running. And I'm not thinking about running anymore because I'm happy in my shoes and life is good. And I'm just running along and just kind of doing whatever I want. Now, eventually, while those shoes wear down, especially across like a 6 or 8 month training cycle, I need new shoes. But I don't remember exactly when I'm going to need new shoes because my attention has gone elsewhere. Maybe I'm working on some core strength or some functional stuff, or maybe there's some intermediary events to my season. And as a result, I miss that simple piece of information that I need, which is, hey, the last time I bought shoes was February, or these shoes that I'm wearing right now were purchased on February. So that when I need to think about my shoes, I have a couple options. I can either remember to check them at a certain time, or when I do think about my shoes, I can at least remember when I got them, because I wrote down when I got them. And that's why I want to talk to you what I call the endurance change log. The neat thing about the endurance change log is you can do it right on your phone, or you can do it on paper if you want, depending on if you're new school, old school. From the new school side of things, what I recommend you do is you take your smartphone of choice, or you can use your laptop at home as well if you don't have a smartphone, and create a reminder list. Just call it what you want. I call it, mine is my endurance change log. And inside there, I make notes on all the different things that I do across my season. So we'll go back to our shoe example. When I buy a new pair of shoes in February, I just say, hey, add to my endurance change log list that I bought a brand new pair of Hoka whatevers on February 15th. And it'll put it right in there. So it's under the sneakers. So when I go back and look at all the stuff that I've done over the year, I can find out the last time I bought those sneakers. If I want to be crazy, I can even be proactive as well and say, hey, remind me 3 months from today at 9 a.m. to take a look at my sneakers, because I don't think they're going to be in good shape based off of what I have planned. And I don't have to think about it anymore. I've pushed it out. And in 3 months from today at 9 a.m., my phone is going to buzz at me. And on my phone, it will tell me to take a look at my shoes, which will be the trigger to remind me that I need to do something about it. Okay. The power of this system is it takes the need for your brain to remember long-term elements that are part of the success of your season and delegate it to a device that will remember, a device that you carry with you, a device that will remind you, and then empower you to make the best possible decision at the right time. And that's the big piece. Why are the shoe example that I gave you when I ran off with my shoes and things were good, why is that example so important? Because what happens is over time, our shoes wear down, but we don't notice. And the difference between a great pair of shoes and a good pair of shoes is not that different. But a good pair of shoes and a bad pair of shoes isn't that different either. But a bad pair of shoes and disaster, you're about 2 or 3 weeks away of consistent running on those shoes before you run into a problem, no pun intended. And by run into a problem, I mean you get an overuse injury or something you need to fix, right? But we could take it out of the realm of shoes, for example. We could talk about something different, like perhaps cycling components, right? So it's super important that you change your chain depending on how much you ride. I would say probably every like 1,500 miles, 1,000 to 1,500 miles to get a new chain. Keeps your drive train, the whole system all set up, super happy, especially if you ride a lot. Raise your hand if you ride a lot. So I need to have a reminder that says, hey, in 3 months, I need to buy a new chain. So again, I just will literally go into my phone and just say, hey, chain installed on this day. Also remind me 3 months from today at 9 a.m. to buy a new chain. And that allows me to make sure that I'm going to stay on top of that process. I'll buy the chain. The chain showing up my house inside a box is the reminder that I need to install that chain on my bicycle. And that keeps my overall system happy. That gets me away from the position of having to suddenly fix a chain or suddenly have to change a derailleur or suddenly have to drop a lot of money. Because when we're in compressed timeframes and we need things done to our equipment, the cost goes up, right? We got to pay for expedited delivery and everything else like that, which is really crazy. So, all of this is really thinking about what it means to be successful. And a huge part of it is managing that long-term piece. So again, when we think about what you're trying to achieve from that long-term perspective, do it early. And the best way to think about this process, once you have that change log established on your smartphone or the device of choice, is to really start asking yourself questions in silos so you kind of get it all organized. So we think about our season. So the first thing you can think about your season is like your races, right? So what are the races and then what are the events that need to happen? So if you're traveling in November for a race, then you need to have your flight booked by, say, March. So set that reminder. Hey, remind me in March, whatever, I need to book my flight by this date. Again, that shows up, right? Same thing with like the rental car. If you're from the travel perspective, if you need to confirm your reservation, when does that happen? If you need to send a note into the kids' school, they're coming with you, when does that happen? All of those pieces of the puzzle you can put inside this list because they'll all trigger over the course of your year so you have it, right? Another example I mentioned earlier was some of the equipment stuff, but you could even go a step to the side here and think not just about the equipment that you buy, but your personal equipment, right? Like what's the self-care regimen that creates success for you? So when I'm out of season, for me, I can do my core strength and functional strength. So I can, again, set reminders for that if I need to, or reminders on when I want to change different training phases, right? So maybe move from functional core to maybe some light weights. When do I want to do that? Let's have that reminder. Otherwise, Coach Patrick, almost always on autopilot, I'll keep going, right? But beyond that, we could think a little bit about the self-care side that becomes important. So when I'm training for a race, when I'm sort of bigger mileage, bigger time, then it becomes a matter of saying, how am I going to do this successfully? And what are the elements that go into that? From a self-care perspective, ideally, I like to see a chiropractor. I've got a great chiropractor here. So I'd like to go see my chiropractor once a month just for an adjustment and any sort of emergency ART stuff that I need. I might book time with a massage person as well if I want something even above and beyond that, if there's something that I believe I need more of, right? So I would go ahead and block that stuff off and create that time. Like, hey, remind me 3 months that I need to start scheduling my appointments with my chiropractor, right? And get those on the calendar and have that set up so that they're ready for me when I get there. So I'm good, right? Another example around the equipment side is when you're changing equipment between races. So one of the interesting things about being an endurance athlete with some money in your wallet and lots of ambitions is that you can do many different sports or many different versions of the same sports. You could race bikes, but you maybe off-road sometime, maybe gravel other time, road, time trial, whatever that is. And so when we start thinking about the different types of bikes and equipment you need, oftentimes a large block of time, perhaps not since last year, haven't been on that gravel bike since last year. Well, there's a whole period of time that we need to dedicate to getting that bike back into service, whether it's something you do on your own or if you enlist the help of some outside service to help you do that as well. Whatever it may be, we need to build in time for that to happen. So when you decide to go out for your gravel sections of riding come spring or whatever that may be, that your equipment is ready for you to do just that. So again, thinking from that equipment perspective, what is the schedule that you can put into place that you get locked in, right? So those are sort of the proactive pieces. The last piece I want to talk about with the endurance changelog, which may in some ways turn out to be even more important, is talking a little bit about some of the lessons that you've learned as well. And again, this can all go into the same file. You can divide it up and drag and drop or whatever you want to do later. But this is an example, I'll give you real quickly, that I think is really helpful. So as a triathlete, spend a lot of time on my bike. The number one thing that messes me up on my bike that I have to get right every single time, my seat height. And any changes that I make to my seat height, I need to know. And so the way that we manage seat height right now is we put a piece of tape on it or whatever it is. But if I'm making a change to that part of my bike, then I'm going to note it inside my change log. So I'll say, hey, on August 18th, I raised my seat 2 bars, right? From 6 to 8, whatever it may be on the seat post, right? And so I know now that that's the seat change I made. So if I need to go back and make a retroactive change or undo what I've done, I have a record of it, not just a flimsy piece of tape that may fly off. Same thing if I'm swapping out something else on my equipment. capture that and then identify the change that I made and why I made that change, right? So my knees were bothering me, so I raised my seat height, right? Or my bar tape was shot, so I replaced it, right? Or the bike was making a lot of noise when I was shifting, so I did this to my shifters, or I did this with the B screw in the back of my derailleur. Whatever those changes are, capture them as you go so that future you has a record of the changes you made in case they need to start doing something different, right? This is a way for you to sort of take the concept of what a training diary was, and when something went wrong, you went back to your training diary and played like a little CSI and tried to figure it out. We can be a little more proactive. We can actually leave actual clues, like time-stamped specific clues that allow you to get better at iterating that system, right? So if you have a tough race in September, you can go back and look at the things that led up to that race and the decisions that you made and decide which ones you think you want to keep and which ones you want to get rid of based off of the log of decisions that you've made, right? So you may have raced and realized, man, I had all the wrong gearing on the bike. Why on earth did I have these ridiculous gears on my bike? Go back to the change log. You changed those gears on this date and this time because you believed X, or because someone told you X, or there was a sale on X, or whatever it is. All of that becomes really important for you to be able to make better future decisions based off of the decisions you've already made. It also allows you in some ways to kind of build in a default undo button to anything that you've got going on, right? So something I see a lot as a coach is people are on nutrition plans that are just not working for them. And I say, okay, so you're eating and drinking this stuff, you mix it up, concentrated, this is your process, great, sounds great. Why do you do this? Like, what made you decide to do this? And people say, things weren't good. Weren't good is not super helpful for me to be able to break down. Well, what did you do before? I think I used to drink and eat this stuff, maybe. I can't remember. I've got some of it laying around. Also, not super helpful. But if you'd said, in 2020 in March, you decided that you were no longer going to drink Gatorade Endurance and instead you were switching over to some kind of super starch because of X, Y, and Z, we would have that captured. So it would be a resource for you moving forward. So you could understand the problems that you were facing at the time, the problem you were trying to solve. And we can look at currently where we are and the issues that we're having and decide, have we indeed solved these problems, or have we transferred in a new way, or have new problems arisen? We want you to always be moving forward with your decision-making process, which is what ultimately unlocks some of that speed and potential that you have. If you are continually reinventing the wheel, having to fix things again like it's the first time, even when it's not, even for the most astute athletes, this can happen. And it's a vicious cycle to get into because you're taking care of what the problem is today, but we're not addressing the underlying causes that will help set you free and put you in a position to not only realize your speed and potential on race day, but have a heck of a lot more fun doing it. So to recap, do yourself a favor, take your smartphone or your laptop, create a list, call it the Endurance Change Log, and everything you do, all your decisions related to your training, enter it in there. Literally, for those Star Trek fans, just like Captain's Log. Do the Captain's Log on all these sessions, capture what you do. I switched from gel blocks to actual gels on this date because my dentist told me the gel blocks are killing my teeth. So in 6 months, when I have no gel blocks and I'm mad and I don't understand why I don't have them, I'll remember, gel blocks are bad for my teeth. Don't buy them, Patrick. Do something different, right? All this information, again, allows us to move forward in a progressive way and puts us on a path to being a better version of our athletic selves. Sometimes simple changes like this, where we can add technology, are the key to unlocking your secret to being a more consistent and healthy athlete. When we put those two elements together as part of our core principles inside Endurance Nation, you'll be unstoppable. All right. If you've got questions or comments or feedback from me, please leave them in the video below. I'll be happy to share screenshots or other information that I have. If you have questions about your own training and racing, head over to endurancenation.us. There's a red chat button at the bottom where you can communicate directly with me or someone on staff, and we'll help you understand what we can do to help you with your training and racing and get you on the right path to be successful. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you have an awesome week. Enjoy the rest of your August. Take care, everyone.